fancy the crab apple myself.
Oh, they are in nice shape.
Well, they'd look great in that north bed because they'd provide privacy, and I love the blossoms in the spring.
No, I can see that. Welcome to Hometime. I'm Dean Johnson.
And I'm Joanne Liebler. We're at the nursery today having a great time selecting plants for our landscaping project. And in this show, Dean and I will be showing you what's involved in designing and landscaping your outdoor living spaces.
We'll also be showing you the tools and materials you'll need to get the quality results you're looking for.
Hometime is made possible by Chevrolet, who brings you full-size Chevy pickups, the most advanced in Chevy history. Chevy S10 pickups, compact, fun, and hard-working. Chevy S10 Blazer, America's most popular sport utility vehicle. Chevy Astro, the van that can. The heartbeat of America. Today's Chevy truck.
This video is just one in a library of instructional programs designed to assist the viewer in working on a wide range of home improvement projects. And before we begin our program, I want to explain how you can best make use of this educational system. First off, you should watch the tape all the way through to get an idea of the methods, the steps, and the terminology we use. To help familiarize yourself with the terms, we've included a glossary in the project guide. Then you should review the tape again, only this time, check with your project guide to determine the tools and materials appropriate to your project. Then take the project guide to your local building supply dealer or home center. The people there will be able to assist you, answer questions, and direct you to what you need. We'll start out with the planning process, and then we'll show you how to design your own landscape project on paper.
By the way, when you're doing a landscape project, there is a basic sequence you want to follow. The essential steps of landscape installation are planning and design, preparing the site, preparing planting beds, planting trees, planting shrubs, annuals, and perennials, installing edging, and mulching planting beds.
The tools we'll be using for our basic landscaping project include a 25 and 50-foot tape measure, a hammer, a shovel, a flat-nosed spade, a metal rake, a trowel, a wheelbarrow, and a hacksaw. That was some beautiful stock we saw this morning.
Yeah, I want to make sure to work in those Chinese lilacs. They're my favorites.
That's a good idea. The most important stage in any landscaping project is planning. It's essential to consider what you like and how your family wants to use the space. Start by looking around at other yards. Take photographs or sketch the features you like. You'll also find a lot of good ideas in books and magazines.
Well, you'll also want to talk to a local nursery. They know what plants work best in your region. But remember, there's more to landscaping than just plants. Think about using structural elements like patios, decks, fences, walkways, pools, even outdoor lighting. We're going to be working on two different projects. One is a large backyard where we'll install several planting beds, but the other is much smaller in scale and design, and we'll show you that a little time and money can still go a long way.
This yard is really empty and bare. The showcase for the yard will be this patio entertainment area. It'll be shielded from privacy from the neighbors. We'll also be putting in some colorful plants like flowering shrubs and trees throughout the yard. We want to maintain an open area in the middle of the yard for sports and games and possibly a future expansion area for a pool. And finally, there's a wildlife pond out here with a public walkway. We want to maintain the overall beautiful views, but yet separate the traffic pattern from the walkway and the yard.
Our second family wants to leave a large part of their yard open for year-round sports. The neighborhood kids use the adjoining yards for a playing field, so we don't want any plants over there. All the same, they wanted to dress up the yard a bit for the times when they relax out on the deck, and the deck could use a little bit of shade too. But the family doesn't want to spend a whole lot of money, and they need a plan that's simple and low maintenance.
The techniques we'll be using will be the same for both. We'll concentrate most of our attention on the first yard, and at the end of the show, we'll transform this yard into the final product.
Now, as for your own landscaping project, walk around the yard a little bit and see what possible uses there could be, and involve the family and plan ahead. Think about what the yard would look like, 5 or 10 years from now. Well, I think we're ready to put our plans down on paper.
Okay, let's go.
The first step is to make a drawing on graph paper of your house and your yard as it is now. This is called a base plan. Make a rough sketch using the dimensions of your lot and pinpointing the exact size and location of your home.
Also draw on any structures like a patio, deck, garage, fence, or walkway. Include all downspouts and faucets, as well as trees, shrubs, flower beds, or garden areas. And don't forget what's underneath the ground. Now's the time to locate any buried utility lines or septic systems before you start digging. Most utility companies will come out and mark service lines for you.
And here's how our completed base plan looks on one of our projects.
You'll want to add information on the sun and shade areas of your yard. On a piece of tracing paper, indicate where these areas are. Use a separate sheet for morning and afternoon. For example, it can help you decide whether you need to shade an area that gets too much sun or whether to plant a windbreak of shrubs or trees.
Once the base plan is finished, you can do some actual planning. Put tracing paper over the base plan and make some rough sketches on how you might want to use the yard. Now is the time to experiment and try out your ideas. But you can expect to make a lot of sketches before you refine those ideas into a final plan.
For the final drawings, you need to get more specific about the actual plants and their sizes. So we thought we'd show you a little bit about what to look for in buying plants.
Let's take a look around.
All right.
You'll find that most trees and shrubs come in organic or plastic containers and sometimes metal. And these containers usually measure in 1, 2, 3, or 5 gallons. And the larger the container, the more mature the plant and the more it costs. But if you go for more mature plants, you'll be able to enjoy your fully grown landscape all that much sooner.
These trees and shrubs have been grown in the pots for at least 1 year. Container-grown plants can be planted usually throughout the planting season. But one thing to watch out for: if the plant is in a pot where the roots are coming out the bottom, it probably hasn't been cared for as well as it should have been. Some trees are sold by the diameter of the trunk or the caliper size. They start at 1-inch trees and go up to 3 to 3.5 inches. You'll probably find you can most comfortably handle up to a 2-inch caliper.
Flowering annuals bloom only for one season. Perennials, on the other hand, come back year after year. And once they're established, they only need to be watered, fertilized, and weeded. No matter what kind of shrub, tree, or bush you select, be sure to consult your nursery about proper planting and maintenance.
I got some hostas for us.
Oh, good.
It's valuable to know your soil type so the plants will survive the location. There are 3 basic types of soil: sand, clay, and loam. So check your soil type, and then you can discuss your plant selections with your nursery professional. All set?
By the way, it's a good idea to wait to pick up your plants until the site is prepared and the beds are ready for planting. You should also cover your plants to protect them against sun and wind on the way home.
Once you have the plants at home, be sure to plant them right away. And if you have to keep them for a short period of time, place them in an area that's shady and keep them moist at all times.
Landscaping and other do-it-yourself jobs are a lot easier with the help of a tough Chevy S10 pickup. It's one of the most popular compact trucks in America.
A Chevy S10 pickup is fun to drive, versatile, and it's one of the hardest working trucks around. Properly equipped with a fuel-injected V6 engine and other required optional equipment, an S10 pickup can tow up to 5,000 pounds. That includes trailer, passengers, and cargo. So we had no problem bringing home this load of shrubs.
This long wheelbase model features a 7.5-foot cargo box. It lets us take advantage of S10 pickup's large payload. The box sides and many other parts of the truck use tough, double-walled construction. And the box has no exposed mounting bolts to trap water and cause rust.
An S10 pickup is built to resist corrosion with special steels, primers, and sealing compounds. There's even a chip-resistant coating sprayed along the lower body side panels. And like all light-duty Chevy trucks, S10 pickup is backed by a 6-year, 100,000-mile protection against outer body rust-through.
Inside, there's plenty of room for 3 with a standard seat, or you can get available bucket seats for 2. Since this is a 4-wheel drive model, InstaTrack is standard. InstaTrack lets you shift from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive high and back again at any speed. You don't have to slow down, stop, or back up. With InstaTrack, you stay in the cab and shift on the fly.
Whether it's a 2- or 4-wheel drive model, an S10 pickup is a pleasure to own for work and play.
Chevy S10 pickup, from today's Chevy truck, the heartbeat of America. By now you've probably got a pretty good idea about what specific plants you want and what sizes will work best. But how do you put it all together in that final plan? Let's talk about how to mix trees, shrubs, and flowers, and how to handle things like color and shape and height in creating a planting bed. You'll probably find that simplicity is going to be the key to designing with plants.
Our beds are designed for 3 levels. The taller shrubs will shield the yard from the neighbors, and the lower 2 levels will be for color. 2 or 3 plant heights per bed is plenty. We'll also be using only 4 different types of plants per bed. 3 or 4 plant species per bed works well. We also want to mass similar plants together rather than scattering them around. When you mass similar plants of the same plant type, they have a much stronger impact.
In using color, you want enough for interest, but not too much. Just think about the colors that you use in your home. You may use 2 or 3 major colors in a room, with 1 or 2 for accents. It's the same principle in a planting bed. You're better off using several colors with maybe only 1 or 2 for accents. Our largest shrubs are purplish red, and the next largest area is light green. Our lowest shrubs are a variegated green and white, and we'll add some colorful annuals for accent. And don't forget your mulch, because that's a color element to consider as well. Remember, we wanted a lot of color in this project, but a simpler color scheme can work just as well. Even a monochromatic plan with shades of 1 color can be successful. And if you're planting several beds like we are here, again, keep it simple. Repeat at least a few plants from one bed to another for continuity. Well, before we get in there and start planting, we'll need to get rid of some of the unwanted structures and plants that just don't fit into our final plan.
One thing that I'd like to do is figure out what we're going to do with these 2 spruces.
Oh yeah, well they get in the way of the trellis that we want to put up.
I guess we have 2 options. We can either cut the things down or transplant them.
Okay.
This spruce has seen better times, so we've decided to get rid of it. This spruce, however, is in pretty good shape and it's way too valuable to trash. So we'll move this one over here a few feet so that its future growth won't get in the way of the patio trellis we plan on building down the road. The only problem is, the tree and the ball alone will weigh slightly over 500 pounds, a little more than Joanne and I can handle. So we've decided to contract with a tree planting professional who will use a tree spade to dig this one up and put it in this position.
We discussed our landscape project with a tree planting professional and hired him to transplant one of the spruce trees and to get rid of the other. Once he arrived, the bad spruce was up and out of the ground before we knew it. Then he was able to scoop out the hole for the transplanted one. Once the hole was dug, the next job was to remove our precious spruce. The gigantic tree spade is actually able to support the tree while digging out its giant root ball. Then it could simply lift it out of the ground, move it over, and nestle it down into its new position. At the same time, we were able to coordinate the job of planting 3 other more mature trees in our plan that were way too large for us to handle. In the same way, our new large trees were delivered to the house by truck. The tree spade is able to hold such a large root ball that the chances for the tree's survival are excellent. Our landscape project is already taking shape. We want to move this baby spruce up to the front, and fortunately it's small enough so that we'll be able to handle the transplant ourselves. We prepared the new planting hole before we dug out the tree. Dig your hole about 1 foot wider than the root ball and about 6 inches deeper. Big enough so the roots won't be damaged, but not so big that you spend extra effort digging the planting hole. A couple of things to keep in mind before you transplant a tree. Number 1, fully saturate it with water the day before you dig it up. And number 2, try to do it during the dormant season.
Dig a trench about 6 inches wide around the entire tree. The trench should be as wide as the greatest branch spread. Use a spade with a sharp blade and a long narrow dish which slices easily through the soil. Then we dig under the tree so that we've got a root ball that we can lift out intact.
You got it. Well, it's a baby spruce with teenager roots, huh? To replant, we'll add enough soil to the hole so the tree will be the same distance above the ground as it was originally. Then place the tree in the hole, holding it by the root ball and not the trunk. Backfill with the subsoil you set aside until the hole is about 3/4 full, tamp it, and water. Soak it so water fills the hole, then let it drain away. The idea is to thoroughly soak the root ball. Backfill the rest of the hole, but don't tamp it, as the wet soil below will become compacted. Remember, roots need oxygen for growth.
The most important part about transplanting, other than protecting the roots, is to make sure the tree has enough water. We built up a 3 or 4 inch high watering trough around the tree to help contain the water over the root ball. We let water trickle into the trough for about an hour and a half. Water your plants according to weather type and soil condition. Okay, Joy, you can turn it off. Remember, if you have sandy soil, it takes a lot more water than clay. And if you're working with clay soil, keep it moist at all times, because when it dries out, it hardens. Then just continue watering the plants throughout the growing season. Before we begin planting, we have to check our site for drainage. A good drainage system should give us 2 things. It should keep water away from our house and provide well-drained soil for our plants. Now, the best way to get good drainage is to slope the soil away from the house. The soil should slope away from the house at a 2 to 3 foot drop per 100 feet a run. The patio also slopes, and it drops 1 inch for every 8 feet. Now, if you're building a patio or planting a planting bed next to a basement wall, make certain it slopes away from the house so water doesn't run into the basement. How are we doing?
Well, it's looking pretty good, but I think I'll have to measure to make sure.
Okay.
You know, most lots have been graded for surface drainage at the time the house was built, but it's a good idea to double check that. So we're doing that with this line level. Now, the line level is running plumb, and by measuring from the ground up to the level, I get a reading of just over 2 feet. And that's a perfectly adequate slope to draw water away from the house.
You also need well-drained soil for plants. In addition to a soil test, there's also a simple test you can make on site. Dig an 18-inch hole in a planting area, pour in water, and then check to see if it drains overnight. If it drains, you're okay. If not, take a soil sample to your nursery professional. If the water drains out right away, you probably have sandy soil. In that case, you might want to consider using a soil modifier to help the soil hold water. Okay, let's start with the south bed here.
Aha, good thinking. Well, the big trees are in, so we can use them as reference point for laying out the rest of the beds.
Okay, well, we already have the property lines, so we can also use those for measuring and marking.
Let's go. We're ready. First, we want to establish the end point of the planting beds, so we're measuring out from the property lines. The long straight side is determined by the property line itself. However, we want to bring the beds in 2 feet from the property line so that as the plants mature, they won't impinge on the neighbor's yard. When you're laying out planting beds, use the dimensions on your working drawing and measure off the property lines, the house, or existing trees. You'll want to refer to the plans often.
Since our beds are rounded, we need to find the high and low arcs of the curves. Again, we measure off the tree and out from the property lines to determine these points. Here we mark the spot where they cross, establishing the high points of one of the arcs. Now we can clearly mark out the lines with a garden hose, following our marks.
Now, I don't know exactly where to go down here,
All right.
so we'll just get a rough idea.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and lay it out here.
All right, well, let me measure.
This will be fairly close.
Okay. 1.75 inches, so that'd be what, 15?
Yeah.
15 feet.
Then we'll go back and fine tune the position of the hose.
Okay. Now we're measuring out from the center of the tree to the curved edge of the bed. And by using this garden hose, we can just strike the curve as we go.
Using our garden hose as a guide, we'll transfer the dimensions of our bed directly to the ground using spray paint. This way we'll have accurate lines to follow when we're cutting out the beds, and we don't have to worry about the hose getting in the way of the sod removal.
This was beggars were choosers. Beggars were choosers.
To create our beds, we have to first begin by removing our sod. And if you're removing as much sod as we are, you might want to consider using a handy gizmo like this one, a sod cutter. It allows us to make a nice clean edge around the entire bed while we remove the sod at the same time. To operate it, kick the blade through the sod. It's designed to cut right through the sod blanket. The blade sinks below the roots of the sod and removes it in even rows.
If you plan on saving your sod, just slice it into strips and roll it up. Now, only healthy, weed-free sod should be saved, and you want to keep it moist and replant it as soon as possible. Now, we don't need to do any resodding here, so we won't take any special precautions to save it. Excavation. Now, excavation is just a fancy word for digging, and that's what's next on our list. We need to clear out this planting bed so we can make room for the plantings and for the mulch. Now, we want to contain the mulch as much as possible by digging deeply enough so that it doesn't spill all over the yard. But you don't know how deep to dig until you decide what type of mulch you want to use and how much of it you'll need.
There are many different types of mulches. Each have their advantages and disadvantages. In general, mulch is any material that covers the soil and keeps weeds down. It should also help keep moisture in the ground and help stabilize soil temperatures. Wood mulch comes in a variety of textures, from shredded hardwood to large chips. It has a great natural look. Wood mulch is light, so it's nice to work with, but it also runs out of planting beds a little bit easier, so you have to refill it a little bit more than stone. Rock mulch comes in a wide range of colors and sizes. An advantage of rock mulch is that it holds down the weeds better than wood, and you don't have to replace it as often. We've selected rock mulch to match the overall design of our area.
If you have a lot of it like we do, you may want to have it delivered. The closer you can dump to your beds, the easier it'll make it on you. Wow, what a mountain.
As far as rock mulch we're using, we'll need to lay down a layer 2 inches deep. So consequently, we're cutting all of our beds down 2 inches. Now, there's nothing fancy here. It's just plain digging and a lot of it. So you want to make sure you have plenty of help.
You may encounter a situation like we have. This patio was recently installed and rises above the grade of the sod, creating a dangerous lip. We also want the edging for the planting bed to be flush with the patio surface.
To correct the problem, we need to peel back this corner of the sod and regrade this area so that the sod comes up flush to the patio and the edging. Once the sod's in strips, we just roll it up like a carpet without tearing it off at the ends. We'll just roll it back when we're done with the grading. Okay, are you flush down there?
Yeah.
All right. Because of the grading adjustments we're making in this area, we decided to install the redwood edging before we did the planting. This way we can grade right up to the edging. In the other areas of the yard, we'll be using black flexible plastic around the outside of the beds after we do the planting, but we'll get into that later on.
Okay, I'm nailed over here.
Okay, I'm just going to get this stake in real quick.
Be sure to use cedar, redwood, or pressure-treated lumber that's designed for outdoor applications. You want to stay away from lumber that's been treated with penta or creosote. The chemicals can leach into the soil and damage the plantings.
Okay, I could use a couple nails and a hammer there.
All right.
The plans call for a 2x6 redwood edging. To install, the redwood edging has been cut according to the dimensions on our working drawing. We set up layout lines with string so that we would know how high to set the redwood. Then we dug the trenches.
Wood block to tap down on this?
Yeah.
Dropping the board into position with the crown up, we drive 1x2 stakes in at each end. By the way, crown means that the bow side is up. Very few boards are ever perfectly straight. Let's see.
Okay.
I should take that little hammer to it.
All right.
Hold it.
Okay, I'll finish it off here.
Once the end stakes are in, nail the board into position. Then go back and put in a stake every 2 or 3 feet to secure it.
With the edging installed, we can go over the area with black dirt to regrade. Careful to slope the dirt away from the house and the patio. We spread the dirt out smooth and evenly as possible, sloping it down from the edge of the patio as well as the edging of the planting bed. Once that's accomplished, we simply roll the sod back over and water thoroughly.
Well, now we've already got these big trees out of the way with the tree spade.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and move on to the small ones and stick those in by hand.
Okay, and after that we have no alternative but to finish the rest of the planting. It's best to do the biggest plants first. Now we've marked off our plant locations using the dimensions of our working drawing. And remember, we plan this bed carefully to allow enough room for the leaf cover or crown of the mature plant. We don't want to crowd the trees. And planting a tree like this is pretty much like transplanting the little spruce that we did in the other yard. We won't add any nutrients to the soil because the roots will travel beyond the confines of the hole very quickly anyway. Instead, you can give your tree a good start by digging a hole deep enough for its roots, give it plenty of water, and select a plant that's well suited to your soil and your climate.
With the trees in, we can now move into planting the shrubs and perennials in all the beds. We already marked the location of each shrub with a pink plastic tab.
Dean,
Yeah,
I got an idea.
what's that?
Why don't we lay out all these plants in their proper places?
Yeah, it would be a great way to see everything in place before we have it in the ground.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'll help you.
Planting shrubs and perennials is basically pretty simple. In fact, the most complicated part may be getting it out of the container. You need to be careful so you don't damage the plant. First of all, if you have a rubber or a plastic container like this one, try squeezing it to just gently loosen it up. And you grab it at the base, gently, and just shake it out. Just tip it out. And in it goes.
Okay, next thing on the agenda, edging and landscape fabric.
Well, we're almost done here. We'll get these two big beds and then go for this S-curve.
Yeah, well this edging is important. It's going to keep the grass out of the mulch for us. To install the edging, we need to create a narrow slot all the way around the planting beds to drop the edging into. The two most common types are plastic edging and wood edging. Plastic edging is durable as well as flexible, so consequently works great in curved and also straight runs. Plastic edging comes in 2, 3, 4, and 6-inch widths. The 6-inch width is by far and away the most stable because it goes 6 inches into the ground.
Now the bead at the top of the edging rests just above the soil. Ideally you want it at grass level so it won't show. The full 6 inches of the edging are below grade. When the edging is installed, the barb should face the sod. By doing it this way, the roots of the sod can attach to the barb and literally serve to anchor it down. You can also use plastic stakes to secure the edging. Dig to a depth of just beyond 6 inches. Make a narrow cut with a flat-nosed spade. You want to create a square-bottomed groove. Rocking the spade back and forth can create a V shape, and that can crush the barb on the edging.
We'll place our plastic edging in the trough and connect it to our last piece using a connector plug. And then with that in place, we want to get the bead up so that the top is level with the top of the ground. Push in our stake. and nail it in place.
There we go.
Once all the stakes are in, we'll backfill up against the edging to the level of the beds and then tamp with our feet.
Normally, you'll have to trim your last piece of edging for a snug fit. And that's pretty easy to do. All you need to do is make a mark, bring it up, and trim it off with a hacksaw.
A lot of plastic edging that you'll buy will come in coils like these. When you immediately try to roll it out, it'll want to curl up like Christmas ribbon. So to avoid that, an hour or so before you're going to use it, roll it out in the ground like so, let it set in the sun. You'll find that it's a lot easier to work with.
Our next step is to install the landscape fabric. This fabric is designed not only to permit moisture to pass through it, but it also keeps weeds from growing in the planting bed. We cut a piece to a workable length so it's more manageable. We line it up carefully along one side of the bed, overlapping slightly. We'll cut to fit it exactly once we've got it laid out. Then we can cut slits from one side of the fabric to the base of the plants to cover the area.
Okay, go ahead.
As we work, we shovel mulch onto the fabric to hold it in place.
Okay.
Should we fold it back over again to that one?
Yeah.
I'll get some rock.
Take a slice of turtleneck for this one.
Cut the landscape fabric so it goes right up to the side of the edging, but cut it accurately enough so it doesn't pop out the top of the bed. It could look fairly sloppy.
When you get around small clusters of plants like these, use a shovel for dumping the mulch. That way you won't harm the plants. And you should also be careful to cover all of the landscape fabric so the sun won't deteriorate it.
Rake the rock to a level of about 2 inches with a metal rake so that it comes right to the bottom of the bead of the edging. Okay, got on the line there?
Yeah.
Okay, fold open.
Got enough there?
Yeah, I'm fine up here.
All right.
If you're going to pull it down there, go ahead.
Oh, I guess I don't even need to make a trim there.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. That ought to do it.
Oh, great. I'm thirsty. Let's go get some root beer or something.
Oh, I'm locked out. Now let's go over to the other yard, where using the same step-by-step procedures we just demonstrated, we'll perform another landscaping transformation.
Hometime is made possible by Chevrolet, who brings you full-size Chevy pickups, the most advanced in Chevy history. Chevy S10 pickups, compact, fun, and hardworking. Chevy S10 Blazer, America's most popular sport utility vehicle. Chevy Astro, the van that can. The heartbeat of America. Today's Chevy truck.
The care and attention you give to your basic landscaping project will grow in beauty and character throughout the years, so take a little time to learn how to maintain it. A landscape project isn't the type of thing you can just work on and then walk away from.
Speaking of getting away from it all, are you ready?
Just about.
We hope that we've given you the confidence to enjoy your landscape project and that you have fun doing it too. I'm Joanne Liebler.
And I'm Dean Johnson. Thanks for watching.
You ready?
All set.
Let's go.